Welcome to the Superconscious Success Podcast, where Jen and her Superconscious Success family co-hosts bring you valuable content each and every week on topics relating to manifestation, spirituality, and most of all, using your superconscious to manifest success in all areas of your life. Now on to today's episode.
Hey there, Superconscious Success fam. Just before we get into the interview, this is just a brief message. This is actually a recording of the 2021 Superconscious Success Summit interviews. If you do want to check out the introductory for all of the guests, then you can go across to our Superconscious Success YouTube channel where you'll be able to find all the introductions. These particular podcast interviews will be the interview only. Okay, thank you. Now let's get on to the interview. Hi there, welcome back to the Superconscious Success Super Summit, where today we are going to be speaking to none other than Amanda Farrar. Amanda is absolutely amazing, and if you haven't yet had the opportunity, go across to the Superconscious Success YouTube channel and check out her amazing introduction, where she goes through her history and how she has gotten to where she's gotten to today. Now, today I'm really excited because we're going to be discussing the higher self, which is one of my absolute passions. Connecting with the higher self, connecting with your spirit guides and your non-physical family to be able to create the life that you're looking at creating. We're also going to delve into contrast and hurt that we may have experienced earlier on in life that is stopping us from holding down those relationships and from moving forward with our best possible life. We'll go into vibrations, self-sabotaging behaviours, and so much more. So I'm super excited. Hi, Amanda. How are you today?
Hi, I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you so much for being with us today. I am so blessed to have you here. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about past hurts caused from emotions, because we all grow up with certain things happening to us, some contrast in our life. And I know that it can actually impact future relationships. It can impact how we manifest that life of our dreams. So can you go a little into how we may release those feelings and convert those limited beliefs into more beneficial ones?
Okay, so when we experience something that causes us to feel anything low vibration, what happens is it becomes stored within our physical body, and it's labeled as a fear memory. So a fear memory is an overarching labeling system that we label within our body, and that will cover anger, sadness, distress, etc. We also have any happy memories are stored within us, and they are labeled as love. So we have the overarching love and fear. So it's really important for us to remember that emotions don't care about experiences. Mm-hmm. So you could equally have shock and fear that is stored within your body because you fell over and scraped your knee and no one was there to look after you. Or on the other side, you've been physically or emotionally or sexually abused, and you're actually storing horror. Each are equally important to relabel because they still impact your physical body. What you're doing when you actually have an experience that causes low vibration is that you create something called transitional vibration. And that is created through the vortexes of emotion, which are part and parcel of your inner being. And and basically, if you then hang on to that during that day, it becomes stored overnight within a physical body. Normally, if it's a trauma, like a pain that you've hurt yourself, it'll flow to that traumatic area and it'll store within the cells there. And it also stores in the subconscious. So it's important to understand that our physical body is holding a lot of low vibration, stored low vibration. And that then goes on to trigger low vibration every single day that becomes part of our transitional vibration. And it's this never-ending catch-22 because it triggers low vibration in many of your viewers may wake up feeling anxious and feeling stressed. And it's because they've been triggering low vibration overnight, this transitional vibration, because of the stored vibration triggering this in the background. It's actually termed dripping. It's like a dripping tap of emotion. So this is why it's important to understand that actually you do need to do some investigation work and start relabeling the fear memories into love. And the key to doing that is actually doing it in conjunction with your higher self, to connect and tune to your higher self to do that, because they can support you and they can actually show you the experience from a different perspective. So many of us will have had experiences as children, and we have a story about it. There's no doubt. It's the truth as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
We don't understand what it is for the other people involved, the parents, the other children, or the other adults involved. We've no idea about their story because we are very self-centered as children. So we make it about us. So when you actually work with your higher self, and this is something I support people through, I take them on a journey to allow them to connect to that younger part of them. But it's the higher self that's bringing these emotions and bringing the memories to them. But they're not just bringing those memories from the perspective of that person. They're also bringing the perspective, a different perspective about the other people involved, if there are other people involved, so that they can shift their understanding about what happened. Because it's so important, because basically relabeling from fear to love is literally a shift in perspective.
Yeah.
That someone's harming us.
Because how one person sees a situation will be completely different to how somebody else sees it that's in the same experience. And so it does come down to perspective. So how would somebody shift their perspective with the help of their higher self to be able to be more in love instead of in fear?
Well, it all starts with themselves. So if they've been holding on to past hurts and anger, it starts with really working with the higher self and expressing that pain and anger and everything that you're feeling and have felt, and to express it. And when I was doing my own relabeling and releasing, I would scream and shout sometimes for days at these people that harmed me, because I experienced quite a bit of trauma in my childhood. And so I would literally be so angry. And then I would get to the point where the anger came out and my higher self would then show me what else was going on. I would literally see memories, and from a different perspective. I would see them from a different perspective. And this is where the soul contract comes in to play. It's so important to understand that we create our life from non-physical as part of our soul contract. We literally look at what we want to achieve, what energy capabilities we have, and we design a life to allow us to exercise those and to expand, to be able to step into that life. And so all those hurts and past horrors that have happened within our lives, it's because these people are part of our soul groups. They have agreed to become so disconnected that they're willing to perpetrate crimes upon other people in the extreme, or to be abusive, or just to be not interested in a child, or just it's the spectrum. But the point is that when you actually see past the disconnection of a person and see into their soul, all you'll feel is love. And love for you, because we are all connected in that way, and we have this incredible power to be able to connect to that if we connect to it through our higher self. And so what they can do is, if they can see it from their perspective of another person, what was it like for their childhood? How did they get to that place to be so disconnected? What was the pain and hurt that they experienced that made them actually behave in a certain way? And if you can get to that point to understand that, literally is life-changing and life-giving for yourself, because this isn't really about the other person, this is about you. And if you can relabel it from fear to love, the stored low vibration will leave the physical body, and then you will feel high vibration. Because actually, in reality, if you're holding on to any anger, any shame, anything to do with any other person, it's not harming them in any way. It's
No.
harming you.
Yeah, and this is
So
why forgiveness is so important, because
yeah,
people think that the moment that they forgive somebody, they're saying it's okay. But it
yeah,
doesn't affect the other person. The other person probably doesn't even think about it, because their
yeah,
perspective's very different, and how they've seen the situation is different to how you have. And
yeah,
so I believe that when our higher self comes back, which we're going to go into a little bit more when we discuss the journey of the soul, I think you're talking about.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe.
Then I believe that it comes back along with the soul contract to learn different lessons, because we're all here to learn lessons. We're all
Yeah,
here to expand and to grow, and as souls. And
mhm,
so I think one of the things that people may find difficult to understand is we're all one and we're all love. That's us, where every single person is connected. But how can we explain why there is so much hatred in the world? Why there are so many people that are hurting others? Like you said, when they did the soul contract, they agreed to do that for that purpose, to be able to help the other person to expand and to grow.
mm,
But I've had people say, well, if that's when I've tried explaining it to them, well, if that's the case, why would somebody choose to live in poverty? Why would somebody choose to be a child that is not looked after? How would you
mm.
sort of like speak to somebody that has questions such as that?
Well, everything is free will. They don't choose a specific experience. What they do is choose a feeling
Mm-hmm.
within the soul contract. They want, there's highlights to it. There, within soul contracts, it starts off with life influences.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with a life influence. We want a certain part of your soul contract um, needs to be disconnected. I mean, I can explain my soul contract if you want,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as
that
an
would be
example.
awesome.
Okay, okay. So I had, because of where I am now and the energetic capabilities that I have, and the ascension that I've had within non-physical, my soul contract was very dark. Lots of fear from the moment, literally the whole way through until just recently, and it had three prongs. So my life influence needed to be that I felt self-hatred,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a leading expert in self-love. So it was important for me to feel what self-hatred
To
was,
experience that,
that
yes.
that I would feel and know that I was evil, and that was really important, because that would disconnect me from non-physical. And because it was so important that I felt that non-physical was evil, even though it isn't,
Yes.
because then I didn't have that access, because I wanted to feel disconnected, and I needed to be disconnected from my family.
Okay.
So that's because that's disconnection from my family meant that in order for me to be able to really truly understand what self-love was, I needed to expand and reach for self-love for myself, despite nobody else supporting me, nobody else connecting to me, no physical, non-physical supporting me,
Yes.
so that I could really feel and live what it felt like for so many others to have that experience. And so I went into a family unit. There was lots of disconnection, so there was lots of arguments, and the way that I managed to achieve the I am evil is I watched what film was it, because films can actually have a massive influence as
Yes.
a child.
Mm.
And there was the witches, Wizard of Oz with the witches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Wicked Witch, and I immediately felt that I was a witch and that I was evil.
Yeah.
And so from 3, I felt that I was evil. And what was happening was my team, my non-physical team, were constantly emitting and sending strength and vibration to me, particularly my watcher, who is a wonderful Indian lady called Samia. And she was sending lots of high vibration to me as a child. And I thought it was the devil trying to get me. And that's how disconnected I was, and how important for me, it was important for me to feel like that. Then I went through 5 years of having been abused by my grandfather, and as a consequence, I felt evil. And it was really important for me to experience that. I'm not saying that I asked for that, but I needed to find an experience from my soul contract point of view that made me disconnected and hate myself. And that was the perfect
Yeah. I think
experience.
yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think that's really important, is that we understand. I think this is how we can change that vibration, is by understanding that everything that has happened in our life has happened for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that, like I said, I think that's what people have a hard time wrapping their heads around, is how do we discover what is real for us? How do we discover what we are supposed to be going through? How would somebody be able to figure out their own soul contract? Is that something that you work with?
It's something that absolutely, it all comes from connecting to your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you connect back into your higher self can give you all this information.
Yeah.
Once you actually are able to release the low vibration, and we can all do that. We can actually shift that low vibration so that then we can connect to our higher selves. And our higher self gives us all this information, and it supports them through that. When I work higher self to higher self. So the guidance comes from their higher self. Everything is absolutely bespoke in terms of the way that I support others. So it's important for them to know that connecting to their higher self has to be the first place of port if they want to support and look after themselves, and understand what their soul contract is, understand what their soul purpose is, understand their life. And the self-sabotaging behaviours are actually, and addictive behaviours are a fantastic roadmap to enabling them to make the best possible connection with their higher self, because they're triggered from extreme experiences usually, or experiences that have traumatized them as children, whether it be a fall or anything, a full spectrum. But it's those experiences from a higher level. They're wanting to experience a certain type of emotion. And once they have understood that, then they can relabel that from a different perspective. So understanding your soul contract, understanding actually the fullness of it, that we are here in this together. This is the earth is about expansion. It's about experiencing contrast. And sometimes people don't appreciate that, particularly if they're disconnected from who they are and their soul. But all of us are born with a knowing within us. All of us are born with an intuition. All of us are born with this incredible capability. Some people choose to never connect to that soul, and that's their choice. That's throughout their life. But we always have a choice to feel and know love through our soul contract. Always. Every one of us has a choice to actually connect to their higher self and choose to connect to their soul. And we have a number of awakening moments interlinked within our soul contract.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are feeling a lot of contrast now, and the life is going, it's literally everything is not working for them, then these are the moments that make us want and desire to have something different and change.
Yeah.
And that's when we start searching elsewhere. But search within, connect in first, ask for the guidance, because the guidance will come. What is it, the book that I need to pick up to help me change? Who is it I need to work with? What take me to a website that's going to support me, that's going to give me the information that I need. You don't need to look elsewhere to follow that guidance. You have this incredible team with you at all times. You have to ask, though, because it has free will. So ask the question of your higher self: who do I need to work with to help support me in this? What do I need to do? And then follow the inspiration. Follow, if you feel excited, or if you feel you literally fall upon a website or fall upon a book, then follow that. And those are the breadcrumbs. Particularly when you're full of a low vibration, you can't actually hear what they're saying or sense what they're saying. If something is chucked in front of you, and like a book that falls off a shelf, pick it up, read it, because they are trying, these are the messages, they're literally emitting guidance all the time.
Because that's what our angels and our guides do, is they'll try and send us signs all the time. And the unfortunate thing is that sometimes when we're in a very low vibration, we can't listen to it, or we can't hear it. And so it's, you miss the messages that are coming to you. I've had things happen where, you know, the books have fallen down, or, you know, I always know if I'm outside walking, because I do a lot of walking, if I'm outside walking and I see the butterflies are a big sign to me from the angels. And I'll always ask a question, and I get an answer back. And I think that going from that low vibration to that high vibration can be difficult for some that are experiencing pain in their life. What are some ways that they can move from that low vibration to that high vibration, enough to be able to listen to what their source is telling them?
Right. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I would recommend. I mean, we're all aware of the law of attraction, but there are many other laws. There's something called the law of balance. This is a brilliant law. It's a fantastic energy. And a law is basically an energy, a body of energy that just does the same thing. Because a non-physical energy is chaotic. It's moving all the time. But a law means it's literally always, it's rock steady. It always does exactly the same thing. So the law of balance brings in balance. And what it does is actually activates two vortexes within your physical body. And you can bring it in by saying literally to your higher self, connect me and flow law of balance through me. And it will activate love and hope within you. And you might not feel it to begin with, but the more that you feel it, and especially if you're out in nature, go for a walk, call in the law of balance, because nature is literally, it's this balanced energy. The only things that stop it from being balanced are us, you know, we, the humans. But if you can go into a body of nature and call in the law of balance, it will bring you a calmness. And you ask a question, don't expect it to come straight away, and just flow with the balance, and then the answer will come. So that is the best possible way, but you must ask your higher self to bring it to you, and they will. They know what to do. They know how to do that.
And the thing is, they also know what our paths are, and so they will guide us to the best path with the least resistance, because resistance is something that kind of stops us in our tracks, doesn't it?
Absolutely, they absolutely will. And what they also do is, it's really important to be aware, if you've created desire and you want something, they will literally bring you the resistance in order for you to release it. And this is what can happen when you're working with your higher self. They'll ramp up a feeling. So if you're feeling ridiculously fearful, it's because they're ramping it up, because they want you to notice and ask them to help you release it. So this is, they are really powerful. They literally are like your executive PA. They are they know what you need before you know it. As you say, they're fully aware of your soul contract. They're fully aware of every single desire that you're wanting to create and manifest. They know exactly how you're going to get it if you will follow that path. They know what you need to release in terms of resistance in order for that to happen. They literally, this is why the relationship with your higher self is so important. because they are so incredibly supportive. They are literally here for you at every moment. Your team is here for you. They want you to expand, and as you expand through reaching for that desire and releasing that resistance, they expand. They are part of the same, there's a string between you. They're not the same energy, that you are each uniquely different, but you have part of that energy within you. It's a really important relationship. And so resistance, because everyone wants to manifest an amazing life.
Yeah.
So it's important to work with your higher self in order to do that. And there's another element of releasing resistance. It's called creating new truths. So there's another law called the law of truth. And the law of truth is this incredible energy body that holds the duplicate of your energetic system. And as you start to increase the number of fear memories, it starts to replicate that. And it's this law of truth that the law of attraction flows around. And so it's the law of attraction that says, okay, so most of her truths are fear, so I'll bring vibrational things that match fear into that person's life. So by relabeling your low vibration within your body, the memories from fear to love, you're automatically creating brand new truths. And the positive truths. And the person this is where positive affirmations come in. But positive affirmations only work if you do it in conjunction with your higher self. If you actually create it as a truth that becomes part of the law of truth. So that's why lots of people use positive affirmations and it doesn't work, because they're not actually doing it as part of their higher self. And the higher self is managing the truths within the law of truth. And when you get to a critical point of releasing, once you've gone through a lot of experiences and you've released them, in terms of you've let go of the low vibration because you've relabeled them from fear to love, you can then take all the truths in the law of truth and actually flow them and say to your higher self, apply all truths. And they can apply all the brand new truths energetically to your physical body, and they'll relabel anything that they can do, and it literally blasts that low vibration. This is the missing link of releasing, that so many people, because so many people know and understand about experience of releasing, they don't understand about emotional releasing, which is what this does. And when you actually do that in conjunction with your higher self, this is why I've got to be able to get to the 100% love labeled, because they will literally blast out millions of vortex groups holding low vibration by doing that. And then you can start living in that new truth. And by doing that, the law of attraction flows around and sees the high vibration and brings more high vibration. So when you're creating a desire, you need to create a truth around it.
Yeah.
That you can actually create it and it can come into your life. And then you need to release the resistance to allow yourself to relabel everything into that truth. And it's a really powerful way of creating and manifesting when you do that in conjunction with your higher self.
That is incredible. You're the first person that has spoken about the law of truth, and I'm really, there's so many names that people give to these different laws, but I really love the way that you explain that. And it's a fact that the law of attraction, what you focus on, you attract. And that makes total sense when it comes to the law of truth. So thank you so much for going into that. Now, I know you've got a couple of awesome resources that you wanted to tell us about, some books that you have fallen in love with. Can you go into that a bit so that our listeners may want to check out some?
Absolutely. I've got Believe by Raf and Olivia O'Connor. And this is the book that I have learned so much from and has enabled me. This is the fullest and most complete way of releasing low vibration and connecting to your higher self that I've ever experienced. Okay. And now I'm actually a practitioner of the teachings in here, and it's available, I think it's available in bookshops in Australia. Okay. And there are, so I will, as part of this, I can leave the resources information. This book explains about the higher self like never before. It explains about what's going on in non-physical. And the second book is The Journey of the Soul. That's actually by the same guys. These guys are receiving this from their non-physical team.
Okay.
The Journey of the Soul explains us as the soul, our soul model. It also explains what happens when we transition and move into non-physical and the eternal life that we live. It explains what happens in the Christ consciousness, which is this incredible energy holding. It's a Christ conscious collective, and it's an energy holding that once you've activated this connection to it, you are then soothed through this process. There's a process called acceptance that every single soul goes through.
Yeah.
And they need to, it's like literally like a relabeling of fear to love and an acceptance of your journey. So an acceptance of your physical journey. And once you've got to an acceptance and you're fully love labeled, you can then move into the rest of your eternal life. You get a new soul contract, a new soul purpose. Some souls will go off and become guides. Some souls will go off and do all sorts of different amazing things. But what is really, really important to know is great Aunt Nellie that you think does nothing, is not particularly connected in anything, might be the most magnificent being in non-physical, because that's how she chose to live her life physically. So don't disregard anyone. Even the most disconnected of people will go into non-physical and make massive shifts and changes.
Yeah.
We all have, there's some, they talk about what's the Chamber of God, which is basically an energetic holding in non-physical, where we all have our own individual energy holdings. So when I used to think about non-physical, I'm like, oh, I'm floating around and I haven't got anywhere, I haven't got a home, I don't like that idea. We actually have our own home in non-physical. And then we have this energetic holding where we can change. We can fill it with energy, positivity, and different. We can literally create what we want out of it. And once we've finished going off and doing our whatever we're doing, we can come back into that holding, and that we can find whatever we want to do in there. We can. The one thing that is really, really fascinating that I hadn't realised is it has a holding for energy healing. So if you actually say to your higher self, take me to my energy holding in the Chamber of God and bring me healing from my energy holding, that is the most powerful healing you will ever receive.
Wow.
Because it's your healing. So try it, because, and especially before you go to sleep, it's the best way to do it. Take me to my energy holding at night and heal me through the night. In the morning, you wake up. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Wow,
that is the best tool ever.
Fantastic.
But those two resources are so powerful. They will give you so much understanding. The full releasing process is in the Believe book, and the full understanding, and also it gives you exercises about how to connect to your non-physical team, but also how to connect to any past relatives in non-physical, because they're there with you. A lot of times when you first start connecting, your ancestral guides will come in because it feels easier that you know them, that your mum or some extended family member is there because they love you and they're part of your soul group.
And that's something
you are desperately.
Yeah, that's something that I think people are frightened of, is what happens when somebody that we love so much passes away. Are we going to see them again? Are we going to be connected to them when we pass? And you hear the stories of passing over and they're there to greet you at the gates. And do the books go into that? I would assume they would go into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when you move, there is a greeting process, but there's a soothing process, because some people pass into non-physical and transition and they don't want to transition. But if their physical body is no longer viable, they have to transition. So they go through a soothing process, and that soothing will last for as long as needed. And then once they've gone through acceptance, they will meet their family. they first of all, they meet the higher self, and then they meet their family. They meet all their loved ones, and they meet so many non-physical that they have met in physical. It's one of the ladies that I've worked with is she's actually a hospice nurse, and she is now at the point where her clients that she's guiding through this transition are now part of her non-physical team.
Okay.
So she connects with it's really fascinating. She helps them to transition, and now she's writing a book about how they've transitioned and what's going on in non-physical with these people, these souls that she's known in both physical and non-physical. It's fascinating.
Wow.
But we absolutely have our friends, everybody that we love that's part of our group, and also all those foes that committed horrible things towards us. They become part of our soul group, and we love them in non-physical. We can only see
hatred has turned into love. Yeah.
Love really
I think we start to realize what the reasoning is behind it. We start to understand why all of it happened, and we're all love. Everybody's love. We're all connected. So that is fantastic, and I really recommend that everybody go out and grab those books, because they sound like they're actually going to, and I'm definitely going to. They sound like they really help you to discover your soul a lot more, and your higher self, who, you know, is my best friend, and we connect every day. And I think it's something that is critical when it comes to you living your best life. So thank you so much for bringing those two resources to us. Now, do you have a bonus or a special that you're going to include for the summit? And otherwise, I will actually put it in the playbook for them all. So is there something you want to mention, or any further tips you want to give, or anything like that?
Yes, I've got a connection to your higher self, and a self-love ignition, because the absolute, we are all created with self-love within our soul, and self-love is the absolute source of all our power. If we can focus on self-love, we can bring everything into our life. So I've got ignition, I've got 2 audios, an ignition of self-love and a higher self connection that will support you in connecting to your higher self every day.
Fantastic. That's definitely something that you want to get a hold of, people. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Amanda. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the attendees have also learned a lot. And this is a journey that we go through. It's an ongoing journey, our spiritual journey, and it's important that we connect to that higher self and to our non-physical team, because we all have a non-physical team around us, whether that's our angels, whether that's our guardian angel, whatever it is, we've got a non-physical team, and being able to discover how to connect with those teams is going to, it's really going to help you move forward. So thank you so much for today's interview, Amanda.